Hey folks, Philly Boy J here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my pork chops. We're going to be smothering our pork chops. Now, I did a smothered pork chop video in the past, but those were smothered baked pork chops. Today we're making smothered fried pork chops. And listen, this recipe is amazing. I make my smothered fried pork chops a little differently from everybody else, so I want to show you guys how I do it. Give this recipe a shot. I think you're going to love them because they are absolutely amazing. Here I have some center cut, thinly sliced pork chops. What we're going to do first is we're going to soak them in some salt, water, vinegar solution. Let's get to it. As you know, I always love to clean my meat on this show. And these pork chops are still pretty frozen. It's only 4 of them. So we're going to thaw them out. And we're going to add a little salt. And we're just going to let these sit for a little while. We're going to move on and talk about the other ingredients that you're going to need for this recipe. This is our apple cider vinegar. And we're going to, while our pork chops are thawing out, we're going to prepare the rest of the ingredients, alright? So, let your pork chops sit in its salt, water, vinegar solution. Let them thaw out. And then we're going to rinse them off afterwards, okay? You're going to need an onion. This is a medium-sized onion. You're going to need some fresh mushrooms. I'm going to be slicing these mushrooms because these are whole mushrooms. But if you can find some already sliced mushrooms in the supermarket, make sure you pick them up. You're going to need some buttermilk. That's going to be for the gravy. It's going to give it a nice tangy taste and a delicious flavor. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use evaporated milk. Okay, but I really suggest that you go out and get buttermilk. You're going to need some vegetable oil. You're going to need some corn starch. We're not going to be using flour. We're going to be using corn starch. And you're going to need some chicken broth or stock. You're going to need some butter or margarine. So make sure you have some butter or margarine. You're also going to need some minced garlic. That's for the gravy. You're obviously going to need some flour. I'm going to be using all-purpose flour to fry the pork chops. And you're going to also need some gravy master. That's just to darken the color of the gravy. All right? So make sure you have that. For the seasonings, you're going to need some seasoning salt. Or you can use adobo seasoning. You're going to need some onion powder. You're going to need some thyme, some parsley flakes, black pepper, and garlic powder. If you can find some fresh parsley, I recommend that you use that, but I'm going to be using parsley flakes. So here's our mushrooms that I'm going to slice up. And like I said, if you can find some already sliced mushrooms, I recommend that you get those, right? But if you can't and all you can find is fresh whole mushrooms, this is the way that you want to slice them, okay? Now, I like a lot of onions in my smothered fried pork chop, so if I don't use the whole medium onion, I'll probably use like 3/4 of it. So that's how much I recommend that you use. And I'm going to slice them in half. Okay, just like that. Okay guys, so we're getting ready to season our pork chops, and I'm going to give you guys a little cooking education, a little culinary 101. A lot of people, as I mentioned in my fried chicken video, complain about the flour not sticking to their chicken or coming off of their chicken. And the reason that is because a lot of times people will add the flour or cornmeal or breadcrumbs to their meat, and they don't give the coating enough time to settle into the meat. All right. They also add the coating to very dry meat, and using coating on damp meat, like my pork chops here that are still pretty damp, is what helps the coating stick better. The dampness of the meat serves as a gluing agent that helps whatever you're coating the meat with stick to the meat better. It adheres to it better. Okay? That's the reason why you will see a lot of cooks and chefs, they will dip their meat in like egg wash to help the breadcrumbs or cornmeal stick better. But you really don't have to do that. As long as your meat is pretty damp like that, it's going to stick. The coating is going to stick. For the exact measurements and for the full recipe, visit my website at PhillyJCooking.com. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to be using a combination of seasoning, salt, and adobo seasoning. You can do the same, or you can use a combination of both. The seasoning salt has paprika in it, and it gives the pork chops a nice color. Here's our adobo. So because both have sodium or salt in it, I'm going to be using a small amount of each. Okay. Here is our garlic powder. Going to be using a little onion powder, some black pepper, some parsley flakes, and a little thyme. And then we're going to massage all of these seasonings in. And I love using this combination of seasonings on my pork chops. Make it taste so good. I'm all about flavor, guys. Enhancing flavor when cooking. That's the key to good cooking, is making sure that whatever you make, that it's high in flavor. I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle flour over the pork chops. And I'm not going to use all of this flour because we're going to need some of that flour for later. I want to make sure that the pork chops are well coated in this flour. And again, it's sticking easily because they are damp. Okay guys, so you're going to get your skillet and you're going to place it over, I'll say medium heat, medium to medium high. You're going to add your oil and we're going to let this preheat and get hot. Take about 3 minutes. And press the flour into every last one of them before adding them to the hot oil. So just like rub each side just to make sure it's well coated. Okay, we're going to add our chops now. And as you can see, it begins to fry automatically. And that way the coating sticks to the meat as soon as you put it in. You're going to fry them on this side and then you're going to flip them over. And you're going to sit them on a paper towel plate to drain the excess oil. To check for doneness, you can kind of look on the sides and see that it's brown. And as you can see, they're nice and brown, so I'm gonna flip them over. And we're gonna cook them on the other side until that side is nice and brown. They look pretty. Bad boys is nice and golden brown. Okay guys, so here is our pork chops, and as you can see, they're nice and crispy. And no, the flour is not coming off. So if you just do what I tell you to do, you won't have that problem with the flour coming off your pork chops or chicken anymore. Or the cornmeal coming off your fish. Whatever you're coating your meat with, you wouldn't have that problem with the coating not adhering to the meat. Alright? Now we're going to create our gravy. I do leave a little bit of the remnants from the fried pork chops in the pan. We're going to add a little butter or margarine. And the reason why my onions and mushrooms look kind of funny is because I had them sitting in the freezer. We're going to add them. Saute these bad boys. Give them a nice color. We're going to add our minced garlic now. Stir that in. We're going to get ready to add our cornstarch. Stir this in. That's going to be our thickening agent. That's going to thicken our gravy. Now we're going to add our chicken broth. We're going to stir this in. Cornstarch is going to thicken this into a nice thick gravy. Make sure you stir all that cornstarch in. Scrape up the remnants. The remnants going to give it a little color. Okay guys, so the gravy master that we talked about earlier, I added a pinch of that. I'm going to add another pinch because I want the gravy to darken a little more, right? Don't have to use much of that at all. Look at that. These look amazing. Here's another one. Ah, look at that. Look at those smothered fried pork chops. Add that gravy to them. Ah, look at that gravy, guys. Look at the gravy. Look at the gravy. Look at the gravy. It's nice and thick and dark. It's actually a nice peanut butter color. Look at that gravy. Guys, I gotta go. I know you will enjoy this recipe. I'm not going to hope that you will. I know you will. Again, the recipe will be on my website and the link will be in the video description box below. Peace.